I walked in my room, calmly closed the door, still not looking back, and instantly blurted out to my husband that was sitting on the bed, "Our house is haunted." Hello and welcome back to Talk About Strange. Thank you for joining me here today. We just got done with a couple stories and we're going to move on to a couple more. I'm going to try to break these up into segments so that you can watch them whenever you want to. But I'm going to try to get as many done as I can today because I got quite a few of them here I want to get caught up on, people that have been waiting for me to share them. I just want to give another shout out to Kitty at Pinebox Tales. Her channel has changed to Pinebox Mysteries. If you haven't gotten there, go check her out. She's a phenomenal narrator. You'll really enjoy her stories. If you already know her, I just want to let you know she's shut down her channel, Pinebox Tales, and has a new channel, Pinebox Mysteries. So please make sure you get over there and subscribe to her new channel. She'll really appreciate your support. I appreciate your support. I'm going to get on to these next stories here. All right, let's get going here. Okay, we have Arizona Angie, My Haunted House. Angie has written into us before about some other hauntings and stuff that's going on, and this is kind of a continuation of that. I think it's a little bit of a backstory, it reads. So let's get started with this. Hi, Steve. Arizona Angie here. I saw your recent video about trying to keep stories short. Laugh out loud. Good luck with that. Good stories take a little time to explain. Yeah, you're right. They do. Absolutely. It's difficult. In my very first story, I mentioned you having lived in a haunted house for just about 25 years. And let me tell you, laugh out loud, it was quite a shock to find out on the very first night. California, 1998. Before purchasing the house, it took us about a year to find it. Or I think maybe I could say it found us. In my previous story, possible Bigfoot sighting with binoculars, I had mentioned I put out the message in the universe. Well, I do believe the universe answered and delivered us this house as well. A little background first. Years before purchasing the house, I had always adored my friend's house. I loved the architecture in her home. It had vaulted ceilings with wooden ceiling beams in every room. It had a cozy cabin feeling. The living room had floor-to-ceiling windows looking into the backyard. I really just loved the ambience of it all. For a year, we lived with my sister in order to improve our finances. During that year, my realtor showed us many houses, but we could never find the right one. One afternoon, my sister basically dragged me out of the house to go to an open house. I really wasn't in the mood, but I went. She and I came across a man on the corner, removing an open house sign. We stopped and asked for information about it. The house was actually located up the street from around the corner. While he's removing the sign, I told my sister to go quickly drive to the address. If we don't like it, we could take a look and skedaddle before the realtor man arrived. Laugh out loud. My first thought upon seeing the house from the curb was, nope, I don't like it. And it was a very busy street, and I had already vowed to myself to never live on one. Before we could leave the driveway, the realtor man, by the way, laugh out loud, he was a dead ringer for Walter Matthew. It was hilarious. Walter, with a wink face, is getting out of his car, basically begging us to go in and just take a look. Ugh. As I was standing in the driveway contemplating going in, suddenly I realized, oh my gosh, this is the same architecture of my friend's house I love. Now I'm very interested. So inside we go. It turned out to be a bit different. Same style layout, but one had a large kitchen compared to my friend's house. That was a plus because I didn't want a small galley kitchen like my friend's house. It even had a large enclosed patio and good-sized backyard basically wrapped around the house. I was instantly in love. Now let me tell you this part. Upon walking into the house, it looked and felt very dated and dreary. It had worn out 60s wallpaper basically throughout. Looking back now, I felt a strange feeling, but I put it off, blaming the feeling on it because basically it was empty of furniture, and again, it was dated and dreary. By the way, the home was built in 1955, and it really needed cosmetic help inside and out. A couple of days later, I had my realtor see the house and could tell she felt the same way, but I could see in my mind's eye how beautiful I could make it. I saw potential. I explained to my realtor exactly what I pictured. Laugh out loud, she was impressed and told me that I needed to become a realtor because I have vision. This was also the first time my husband was seeing it. He hated it. but he agreed it would fit our family's needs and the price was great. And yeah, I forgot to mention, I was able to negotiate a price a little lower, which included them remodeling and all the wallpaper in every room, painting inside throughout, a good carpet cleaning throughout, and a new kitchen floor. Laugh aloud, I couldn't believe my luck, but I found out while I was living there during that 25 years. So to the first night, we had a busy weekend moving in. First thing was setting up the beds because I knew we were going to be pooped out by the end of the night. So on our first night, I was the last one up. My boys finally had their own rooms. Everything was fantastic. They were all settled into their rooms. My husband was in our room located just a few steps from the kitchen. I was finishing up moving boxes around the kitchen, getting ready for the next day, cleaning cupboards to unload kitchenware. The kitchen doorway separated the kitchen from the living room. In the right of the living room was the walkout of the kitchen, a fairly long, narrow hallway to the bedrooms. Just at the exact moment I flicked the kitchen light off, putting myself into the dark, instantly, my left ear, I hear this very clear, mumbling, loud whispering. It was about the length of 8 whispered words that had sounded of bzz, bzz, bzz. Of course, it was indecipherable. In that moment, in my mind's eye, my third eye told me it was 2 women. My eyes must have enlarged as the hair on my back and neck raised with a shiver running down my spine. In shock, as well as feeling the adrenaline shooting up and down my body, I froze. I didn't want to appear shocked and startled, so I started gathering myself the best I could and walked out of the kitchen in the dark as calmly as possible. I didn't dare turn around. My bedroom was just about 7 or 8 steps around the doorway down the hall from the kitchen. I walked in my room, calmly closed the door, not looking back, and instantly blurted out to my husband that was sitting on the bed, "Our house is haunted." Laugh out loud, he looked at me like I was crazy. He didn't believe me. The following months and years, the strange surrounded me and other selected family members. For some reason, my youngest son and I experienced more than others, and everyone's experiences were different. The experiences definitely were not residual. I came to believe our hallway was a portal. Throughout the years, I tried keeping a written list of just about everything that happened. For safety reasons, at one point, I had to install interior cameras while caring for a family member who had dementia. Some nights there were numerous orbs. I caught noises and voices too. I also have pictures from instant camera from the years of celebrating birthdays. In them are crazy streaks and orbs around us. I really can't say anything malevolent actually happened, although there were a few things I wish I hadn't seen. Thanks, Steve. I'd like to say more, but I do realize now how long this has become. We were just getting into it. You could have shared some more on that one. Make sure you tell us, some more of those experiences. We'd love to hear them. Thank you for sending that in to us. We really appreciate it, along with the other message you sent in to us. All right, what do we got next here? We got another story. I'm going to go ahead and put right on back to back with this one. It's another kind of a short story, so I think we'll enjoy this. All right. My name is Penelope. When I was 6 years old, something happened. We were in our 1976 hatchback Nova on our way to Kentucky, where my grandparents lived. It was a 4-hour drive, so my English bulldog, Samson, and I rode in the back with the seat down, made into a comfy bed. And the way back window was made up in a perfect way to view the sky. Of course, I slept some, and when we arrived down in the holler, something changed. Cow Creek is way down there, back when they didn't have running water. I remember getting out of the car and it apparently seemed too quiet. My parents were not used to that. I took Sam for a long walk and was deep in thought about the information in my head. My dad approached me and asked me if I was ready for breakfast. If you've ever had my granny's biscuits and gravy, you'd have made the 4-hour drive too. I would have drove more than 4 hours for good biscuits and gravy, especially Southern style, with eggs, scrambled eggs. Threw me off there, talking about food. As we headed towards the house, I asked my dad about aliens. His response was not as serious as my questions, so I said, never mind. After breakfast, the adults were talking, and I took Samson back outside. He and I walked around for about 30 minutes until my dad came out to find us. When Dad sat down next to me, he knew I was thinking and asked me what I was thinking about. Once again, I asked him about what he knew about aliens. Now, this was 1976, and aliens were not as mainstream as they are today. He said he didn't know much about it, but it was possible. This is when I blew my dad's mind. I told my dad that aliens made us. This was against the church teachings, so he wasn't sure how to deal with this. I continued on about different apes and the way they were used as in different races. This was way out there because I was never exposed to anything like that. I was 6. He told me to never tell anyone and keep this to myself, and I did. But the thoughts never ended. I didn't tell him about the little spot on my pinky that appeared that morning. So much came to me that early morning. When I was in my 20s, I remember the first time I heard about people with similar things as me. It was like a light bulb went on. This also included Bigfoot as well, just a different line. Anyway, that was from the mind of a 6-year-old, and now I am 54. Welcome to the 54 Club, huh? Yeah, thank you for sending that in to us. That's very interesting. So sounds like you had some kind of a connection with possible something alien. I mean, who knows? In 1976, I mean, that's interesting. And a lot of stuff had happened by then, but you had people that were for it and against it. I'm sure your dad knew a certain amount about it just from Area 51. So, I think he probably knew some stuff about it. He just probably didn't want to talk to a 6-year-old about it at the time. Very interesting, though. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed those two stories. I'm going to go ahead and do this next story separately, just because it is a little bit longer and because it is part of another story that was done previously, and maybe I can put that up there for you. So thank you for joining me here today. Stick around because I will see you again really soon.